Here, by R.S. Thomas. I'm a man now. Pass your hand over my brow. You can feel the place where the brains grow. I'm like a tree. From my top boughs I can see the footprints that led up to me. There is blood in my veins that has run clear of the stain contracted in so many lines. Why then are my hands red with the blood of so many dead? Is this where I was misled? Why are my hands this way, that they will not do as I say? There's no God here when I pray. I've nowhere to go. The swift satellites show that the clock of my whole being is slow. It's too late to start, for destination's not of the heart. I must stay here with my hurt.
Gravey by Raymond, Carver. No other word will do, for that's what it was. Gravey, gravey, these past 10 years. Alive, sober, working, loving, and being loved by a good woman. 11 years ago he was told he'd only 6 months to live at the rate he was going, and he was going nowhere but down. So he changed his ways. He quit drinking and the rest. After that it was all gravy, every minute of it, up to and including when he was told, well, things that were breaking down and building up inside his head. Don't weep for me, he said to his friends, for I'm a lucky man. I've had 10 years longer than I or anyone expected. Pure gravy, and don't forget it.
Memory of My Father by Patrick Kavanagh. Every old man I see reminds me of my father, when he had fallen in love with death, one time when sheaves were gathered. That man I saw in Gardner Street stumble on the curb was one. He looked at me, half-eyed. I might have been his son. And I remember the musician faltering over his fiddle. In Bayswater, London, he too set the riddle. Every old man I see in October-coloured weather seems to say to me, I was once your father.
In Memory of My Mother by Patrick Kavanagh. I do not think of you lying in the wet clay of a Monaghan graveyard. I see you walking down a lane among the poplars on your way to the station, or happily going to second mass on a summer Sunday. You meet me and you say, don't forget to see about the cattle. Among your earthiest words, the angels stray. And I think of you walking along a headland of green oats in June, so full of repose, so rich with life. And I see us meeting at the end of a town on a fair day, by accident, after the bargains are all made, and we can walk together through the shops and stalls and markets, free in the oriental streets of thought. Oh, you are not lying in the wet clay, for it is a harvest evening now, and we are piling up the ricks against the moonlight, and you smile up at us, eternally.
Old Witch, Young Witch by Mary O'Donnell. The witch up the road is busily cooking, stirring her cauldron when no one is looking. The thick broth is bubbling with frogs' legs and bats, and glistening, I think, with the tail ends of rats. Our neighbour's not ugly, with warts on her nose. Her smile is so sweet, you'd never suppose that this is a witch. The vilest one ever. The thing is, you see, she's awfully clever. She drives up to the school gates every day with kids of her own who never would say that their ma is a tyrant, whose tricks are so vast, their mouths buttoned shut by some spell she has cast. She has charmed even them, not to mention the cat, to stick by her side and not say what she's at. She offers some kids sweets made of poisonous weeds that change in their bellies to hard little beads. She throws jolly parties, pretends to be nice, but cross her just once and your head's full of lice. She knows that I know what she's at in the dark, out on a broomstick, seeking her mark, hovering close where the bonfire's light, hunting low over fields for children at night. But now that I'm growing, I've got spells of my own. I know how to stop her by holding 2 bones from last Sunday's beef dinner up to the moon, where I crossed them and murmured the words of my rune. This is the season young witches are growing, learning the trade without old witches knowing.
The Listeners, by Walter Lellimer. Is there anybody there? Said the traveller, knocking on the moonlit door, and his horse in the silence champed the grasses of the forest's ferny floor. And a bird flew up out of the turf above the traveller's head, and he smote upon the door again, a second time. Is there anybody there? He said. But no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the long house den stood listening in the quiet of moonlight to that voice from the world of men. Still throwing the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cutting the dark turf beneath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder and lifted his head. Tell them I came, and no one answered, that I kept my word, he said. Never in the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing to the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup, and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone.
Pangur Bán's Revenge by Iggy McGovern. Call me Pangur Bán. This cat knows exactly where it's at. Never mind my soppy name. Violence is my favourite game. That's my master, large of girth, copying for all he's worth. Thinks he's God's gift to the cat, corpulent upon the mat. Would to God he'd get a life, quit the church, and take a wife. Start to act like a real man. Take his cue from Pangur Bán. Bad enough that he should be field mouse of the monastery. Now he treads on PB's paw. This is the final straw. Yesterday he would recite lines he had been moved to write. Wonder where he gets these views. Pangur Bán, unlikely muse. Meows, more like, as I complain that my bowl is dry again. Fitting, if his rheumy eyes are the cause of his demise. Up the staircase creep the Norse, each as ugly as a horse. Wholesale pillage is their plan, in the style of Pangur Bán. Into the scriptorium bursts the cream of Nordic scum. Master snatches up his work, starts to flee from the berserk. Heading for the secret door, fails to notice on the floor Viking Raider's biggest fan, stretched out form of Pangur Bán. Master tumbles to the ground. Masterpiece becomes unbound. Master meets an awful fate, one that I will not relate. It would only make you squirm. Nor indeed will I confirm rumours of a cat who sells bits of the real Book of Kells. So if you're down by Botany Bay and you meet an old white stray, call him Pangur Bán. That cat knows exactly where it's at.
Stop All the Clocks, Cut Off the Telephone by W.H. Auden. Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent a dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos, and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come. Let airplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling in the sky the message, he is dead. Put the crepe bows round the white necks of the public doves, let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars on it wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can come to any good.
Back in the Playground Blues by Adrian Mitchell. I dreamed I was back in the playground. I was about 4 feet high. Yes, dreamed I was back in the playground, standing about 4 feet high. Well, the playground was 3 miles long, and the playground was 5 miles wide. It was broken black tarmac with a high wire fence all around. Broken black, dusty tarmac with a high fence running all around. And it had a special name to it. They called it the killing ground. Got a mother and a father, they're 1,000 years away. The rulers of the killing ground are coming out to play. Everybody thinking, who they going to play with today? Well, you get it for being Jewish, and you get it for being black. Get it for being chicken, and you get it for fighting back. You get it for being big and fat, get it for being small. Oh, those who get it for everything at all. Sometimes they take a beetle, tear off its 6 legs one by one. Beetle on its black back, rocking in the lunchtime sun. But a beetle can't beg for mercy. A beetle is not half the fun. I heard a deep voice talking. It had that iceberg sound. It prepares them for life. But I have never found any place in my life. Whoosh! The
thunder killing grind.
The Ballad of Reading Gaol, an excerpt by Oscar Wilde. I know not whether laws be right or whether laws be wrong. All that we know, who lie in jail, is that the wall is strong and every day is like a year whose days are long. But this I know, that every law that man hath made for man, since first man took his brother's life and the sad world began, but straws the wheat and saves the chaff with a most evil plan. This too I know, and wise it were if each could know the same, that every prison that men build is built with bricks of shame and bound with bars, lest Christ should see how men their brothers may. With bars they blur the gracious moon and blind the goodly sun, and they do well to hide their hell. For things in it are done that Son of God nor Son of Man ever should look upon.
The Wild Swans at Coole by William Butler Yeats. The trees are in their autumn beauty. The woodland paths are dry. Under the October twilight, the water mirror the still sky. Upon the brimming water among the stones are 59 swans. The 19th autumn has come upon me since I first made my count. I saw, before I had well finished, all suddenly mount and scatter wheeling in great broken rings upon their clamorous wings. I have looked upon those brilliant creatures, and now my heart is sore. All's changed since I, hearing at twilight, the first time on this shore, the bell beat of their wings above my head, trod with a lighter tread. Unwearied still, lover by lover, they paddle in the cold, companionable streams or climb the air. Their hearts have not grown old. Passion or conquest wander where they still, attend upon them still. But now they drift on the still water, mysterious, beautiful. Among what rushes will they build? By what lake's edge or pool delight men's eyes? When I awake, some day, to find they have flown away.